Oh, we thought we did. Okay.
We thought we were going. Bryce just disappeared. Dollars to Donuts. He'll be back momentarily. How you doing, Mr. John de Oliveira?
Well, it was okay until you mentioned donuts.
Well, donuts are always an attractive thing. It's just they're not the best for you.
They're not. That's true. Well, everything in moderation.
Absolutely. Bryce will be back in a moment, I am sure. We are starting the AI revolution call, people.
Yeah, so we got kind of technical last week. We got to get financial or something this week because
well, we can do a little bit of both, but let's overview. Here comes Bryce right now. Let me let him in, and then we'll get started on the call.
Hey, Bryce.
Hey, you there?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yeah, the new computer I got doesn't have a mic.
Oh.
So I had to go back to the old.
Hope you got a discount.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's hit it. Let's talk some AI revolution. I am still of the mind that the robotics side of the AI revolution is the most exciting thing. I'm always learning and seeing new ways that people are starting to use ChatGPT and the LLMs that are out there presently. I just read that Tesla is likely to start using Grok in a future software update to our Tesla cars. And you'll be able to, hey, Grok, what's the score of the basketball game? Or, hey, Grok, explain to me how the electric vehicle works or something, whatever you want to do. It'll be Grok accessible from your big screen in the Tesla. Likewise, by the way, Bryce, did you tweet or Facebook about the call today?
No.
You want
I never heard back from you. I don't know if we're doing it.
I was like, yeah. Once I thought you were asking John.
Oh, I said yes hours ago, so I don't know what that's about.
John.
Yeah, I was like, I thought you were asking John. I'm like, yes.
Maybe it's just us three right now.
Yeah. But yeah, Bryce, if you would tweet it and Facebook it and get a few more people watching. But look, the other thing, like I just was thinking this week that someone asked me, Cody, you ever go to the horse races in Ruidoso anymore? I was like, yeah, once or twice a year, maybe. It's fun. I always enjoy looking through the daily forum and looking up like the most recent run times for the horses and what their records are and studying the data that is available. There's a pretty good chunk of data on each horse in each race in the daily forum, if you've never seen one. But as I was saying it, I was like, how far are we from just being able to upload 3 years of daily forums in a PDF form into ChatGPT or its ilk and say, analyze this data, tell us what the most predictive data sets are inside of everything that you look at. You'd obviously have to upload race results also so it can reconcile, but not, and then at least somewhere down here in like Ruidoso, which is not a very popular, it's popular around New Mexico, but it's not like you have millions of people watching the races and all betting on them or something. You could have a real edge. I'm not sure you could do this on like the Olympics or a football game, a college football game, because other people will also be doing it and they'll be making the same bets based on what the GPTs are telling them. But in horse racing, in a small limited market like this, I think you'd have a real edge. And if I have time, I'm actually going to try to do that.
Yeah. Why are we sitting here? It just sounds like you just. So I wonder. So how predictable is it? Like in terms of the good horses doing well next time, kind of thing.
Pretty predictable based on my rudimentary and limited experience of gaming that stuff through daily forums over the past again, it's like once or twice a year I go to a horse race. Yeah. So this is not a frequent thing, but I've gone dozens of times over the years. And I I've had people show me what they look at, and I've done my own stuff over the years. And when I few years ago, I went more regularly in New York a couple, 3 times in the summer, and really studied it and had felt like an edge. And then on the last day, of course, I probably gave everything back. You know how this works.
See, I think the way to go is to bet for it to show. Like, don't even go after win place. All right. And then you're like, okay, why shouldn't it at least do that? It's won everything up till now. And, this kind of stuff. Or, then, if you know some things about, weather or soil conditions of those previous races.
Which you do. Yes, that's in the forums.
If you want to get an edge that's not there, if there's any other kind of variables you think that, could be looked up based on what day it actually occurred. But,
I'm looking for my book. I just remember Jim Cramer gave me a book, the guy on CNBC gave me a book years ago when I was starting my hedge fund. And he said, this is the most important book a hedge fund manager can read when he's getting started. And it was called Handicapping Horses by Andy Beyer.
That's funny.
Yeah. And it's about, in fact, I've given it to Bryce.
Let me guess. It's about handicapping horses.
It's about maximizing your risk reward scenarios. And what you described is talked about in the book. And as I recall, it is a relatively safe way of betting. You bet on the favorites to at least show. The problem with that is the returns are low.
But if you're betting on every race, if you're spreading it across every race, it ought to be.
Yeah, but I don't think the book talked about it. It was not the most favorable way of doing things. There are other ways of doing it. And really it sums up in this. It's like when you see a really underpriced opportunity, when the risk reward opportunity in your analysis looks fantastic, you bet big. And otherwise, you manage your risk reward by betting medium and really don't have a good feel for something. You either don't bet at all or you bet very small. But anyway, the point being that I do think it's just amazing that even AI will even impact betting. And there's just, whether you're a therapist and you want a more efficient way of keeping your records, like Bryce's mom uses ChatGPT for, or whether you're hedge fund managers who are trying to learn about various industries and you talk to ChatGPT, or whether you're a bettor, you could be using ChatGPT to help you figure better odds and better bets.
I think you're right. You're right also to talk about Ruidoso, because what's that notion of it being like priced in? If you were at like Belmont, it's like people have already figured out whatever, and anything you think has already been worked into the odds. But they haven't worked it into the odds for these, for these kind of smaller race.
No, that's right. That's right. Your competition who's betting on these horses against you. And, you get horse racing, and like most sports betting, is impacted by who's betting on what and how much the dollar amounts are a bet on each of these things. Mm-hmm. And so let's take it to a bigger example than even Saratoga or something, Belmont. Take it to the Olympics. Like, you could take all the data in the Olympics and run it through ChatGPT and tell you how to figure out what is probably going to be the best odds. But there will be other people on the planet making those same bets using ChatGPT. There's millions of people betting on the Olympics. In Ruidoso, there might be 300 people on a certain day betting on that race.
So one thing about this, we say ChatGPT now because it's what everybody knows. And we're taking it to sort of be synonymous with AI. But in fact, this thing you're describing is perfect for classical machine learning, the stuff that came before ChatGPT. It's exactly what it's for, is predictive models.
So certainly people have been doing this already and probably making a living.
Yeah. So tell me about, because you know more about than I do, but about like black box trading and how that uses AI, because it was before ChatGPT.
Yeah. Look, I'm not an expert on black box trading. I trade the primary open markets, and people try to use black box trading to find inefficiencies either before or after, during the markets, but I'm not an expert.
Are they like seeking alpha when they go, they're trying to get find that magic spot thing people haven't recognized?
Bryce, talk about black box trading.
I'm not sure what it does. Are you talking about like algorithmic trading and?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I think
I thought you were
that's what
talking
I
about
meant.
like dark pools.
No, I think I just mean algorithmic trading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Yeah, I mean, that's
absolutely.
been going on for a while, and the Citadels and all of them in the world, and have priced out a lot of the inefficiency.
First,
in
it was
the market.
rule based, then it was machine learning based.
But
It's
you know,
not like,
yeah, but John, it's exactly right. So a perfect example that Bryce and I see all the time is there, especially on the options expiration days on a Friday when a lot of options are expiring. There will be a 5 or 10 cent differential between what the options bid ask is and what the stock price is trading at. And if you try to arbitrage that, you won't, because there are algorithmic programs that are instantly finding that and taking any trade that might be there. And it happens. We see it all the time. It makes sure there used to be 20 years ago, there would be inefficiencies on the options markets, especially on expiration day, and to the tune of, maybe $20 here and there, $200 here and there, and on extreme cases, thousands of dollars here and there. Now there's none of that because every stock, Citadel has the capital and the technology behind every exchange, to make sure that there are no inefficiencies that they're missing out on.
they could kind of take that same kind of program but run it themselves to see what it does and then adjust the delta. And
it's literally like you could buy the option for $3 or you could sell the stock for $3.10. And so, and by $3 in options, that means $300 per option. And so on that example, there would be a $10 inefficiency in the market that you might be able to get, but now you're never. But as an option trader, we actually like that sometimes because we're trying to peel out of our options on expiration day. We don't want them to exercise if they're in the money sometimes, and to be able to immediately find that right price that's efficient or close to it at least. It's actually good for us.
So this is on the I don't know, get the wrong words here, but like the technical side as opposed to the fundamental side. And there's other kind of code that's used by, and it's not JP Morgan, but maybe it is, but some of these really big ones where I used to know some people who worked there as like ontologists, and they were doing, where it would read the news and, figure out what that means about where that industry is going and stuff.
Yeah, that still happens, right? Like if the stock markets had been open when Trump got shot in the ear on Saturday, the algorithms would have immediately sold stocks. As soon as those headlines come through any major news source or Twitter even, those algorithms are going to see assassination attempt, United States former president, candidate, all that. It would read that and immediately sell stock, buy puts, and it would have been a jolt to the system. And it would have been, again, as traders, we probably would have liked that. We probably would have been taking the other side because he was okay and everything else. But Bryce, throw in any comments here. All right?
Yeah, I guess just the bigger picture to me is with everything, with the commoditization of information because of the internet and now machine learning and now generative AI, the trend has moved towards more and more efficient and rapid movements in the markets. I guess they're not always efficient because they can get it wrong, but there's not just hey, there was really great news that everybody knows about and then nothing happens in the underlying stock price. Almost always there's some kind of movement there. And so there's just it's a good example of I don't know, think about before Facebook Marketplace, you might find a great deal on a Jeep that is a collector's item and nobody else knows about. Well, nowadays with the internet, anybody can go look it up and see, you get a pretty damn good idea of what the thing's worth just because the information's out there,
Right.
Seems like, okay, two things. One is it's really interesting that these programs that have been operating for years and whatever might be able to pick up on that because it would have been sort of hand coded over a long time by lots of people
Yeah.
to get something all the way as specific as that.
That's actually, yeah, John, that's what I was about to say. What's, Bryce and I even spent some time a year ago. It's probably better now, Bryce. At some point, we should just try to do it again, where we were wanting ChatGPT to help us write algorithmic code that we could then use on our trading platform and actually try to capture some of those things and just to learn how people are tangibly doing it. But it is getting to a point, like Bryce just used the word democratization of it. And with generative AI code, you can tell it to code in Python a algorithm that sells Apple calls if it's up at least 5% on one day, or up 10% over 3 days, and do it slightly out of the money, but only if the premiums are attractive based on these metrics.
Again, you're getting into the kind of technical language and it could go do that side of it, but at the same time, it could do the side that has to do with the real world and those aspects of it that, have an effect on things, or how people's opinions toward things, or, all of that's, available as well. And remember, this is what I do all day, is have the thing programmed for me. So I could tell you, it's really good now at like you describing something and it writing code and getting it right for what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's incredible. And even on that note, John, I mean, certainly that's going to democratize every concept that you could come up with. That, hey, anytime there's a press release that talks about death of a current CEO in a company, buy puts on that stock, or anything like that. You could, and it used to be only under the only people who really had the ability to do that were giant hedge funds and investment trading banks like Citadel or JP Morgan. But increasingly, there are $5 million, $50 million, $500 million hedge fund guys, or just people trading their own personal accounts that are figuring out how to, or having cheat code created for them.
So take that as an example, and just on Bryce's word there, because it's perfect, is, and apply it into other fields. And this is the thing, is democratization. It's like, what's the other asymmetric warfare kind of thing. The little guy being able to do stuff that, and this is what happens when new technology comes around, is there's sudden this shift in who's able to do what. So you want to go do a startup that does this thing, or you want to work with doing something for these people with this service. It's like in all different areas. And you mentioned robotics. Once that gets out there, it gets off of the desktop and into the world. And it's the same notion, but it's into all the stuff that you can do wherever you go.
Yeah, and physical. I mean, that's everything up to this point from machine learning and AI has been virtual / in your head, verbal, but it is existing in a virtual realm. And the physical world is about to be impacted increasingly and exponentially quicker. We're about to see humanoid robots in the workplace, at the home, in the factories, anything else.
Did I forget if I mentioned, this is physical, but very tiny. You get in the medical end of things, but the origami DNA or whatever. So there was this was some work done recently where this thing is killing cancer in mice, but it's going and finding very small stuff and wrapping around it. And the way it wraps around, though, is from this AI knowledge of what can origami do, sort of. It surrounds the thing. So there is stuff coming there too.
Yeah, even just, and also, Bryce, who are we talking to recently, talking about the nanobots that will be going in and attacking cancer cells or other things? Were you on that call?
Was that in Vail, or it wasn't John that told us that, was it?
No, I think it might have been in Vail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just it. This is, again, where it gets so crazy that as tuned in, or as trying to be as tuned into AI as we are, there are millions of people coming up with millions of different ideas how to use that to apply better ways of getting medicine into a body, not just creating better drugs for the body, but just every layer of medicine, of transportation, of accounting. It all gets automated and more accurate. Yes, Bryce.
Thinking about the medicine part of it too, because we've been spending so much time on that. But I think one of the, like you could say, one of the exciting things about AI is it's going to go fixing to go physical, right? When we've been talking about robotics, but by going into medicine, AI is also going physical in that way too. You know what I mean? Now it will have a real impact at, even if it's at a microbiological level, it's still physical.
That's
AI.
right, Bryce. That's exactly right. Or even like the brain implants that,
yeah.
That
I heard they're on their second patient. Yeah, they got their second patient now.
Yeah, and obviously those will be advancing ever more quickly, also with machine learning and AI tools. Bryce and I have been studying two major things in the AI revolution most recently. He just mentioned the medical side of AI, pharma specifically, and also, as we've talked several times about the robotics, specifically the humanoid robotics revolution. Morgan Stanley wrote a 300-page, 200-page research report on the humanoid competitive industry, and you can read the first 10 pages and know everything you needed to know. Basically, everything else from there is a little bit either redundant or going into minutia that most people don't know. But I did find on page 94, Bryce, I didn't send you this picture, but I pulled it out. I'm going to leave it in my desk for years. It's the humanoid competitive landscape, and it lists.
That's all the ones standing next to each other?
Well, there is that, but it actually is a list of the companies that are in the humanoid industry.
Yeah.
And 6 of them are in the U.S., 1 in Norway, Israel, Japan, South Korea, and then 5 or 6 also in China. But the reason I pulled this out is, I've done this revolution investing in advanced technology, trend following for 30, almost 30 years now. And this type of stuff, it is always sort of fun to go back and look, have it in your desk, and in 5 or 10 years, you stumble upon it and you're like, oh man, there's only 4 of these companies out of the 22 that are around anymore, but those 4 are worth $8 trillion. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting that in here good to keep.
Yeah. It's interesting, I think, with both robotics and medicine as well, that to me or to us, Cody and I, they're one of the clearest growth areas for AI. It's obvious use cases. There's clear paths to monetization. And beside some fringe reporting, I mean, Morgan Stanley's not fringe, but there's Tesla and maybe XPeng and Honda that are really working on this. And it's, and everybody but Tesla is still pretty small in their efforts. And in the medicine world, there's just not a ton of coverage on it. And it's one of those things where I think there is an opportunity here to invest in what will be major beneficiaries of AI outside of the semiconductor space, for example.
Yeah, we talked a little bit.
AI analyst in the world right now.
We said something last time, about how if you're getting into that, you want to find the kind of pharma companies or whatever who have evidence of really kind of converting the new technology. They get it, they're aware of it, they've got that. And then Cody said something about a company that had just a ton of resources to put to it if when they do get hold of a certain technology or something. They're like, yeah, we've got all the, I don't know what it was, all the labs, all
factories.
The factories. Yeah.
The idea, a lot of what we're drilling down on, the reason we've gotten so serious and buying Pfizer, PFE, is I'm calling it this Taiwan Semiconductor of the pharma industry, because they have the factories in place. And the reason why BioNTech partnered with Pfizer was because what you just described. Pfizer has the ability to make the drugs and get them distributed globally quickly. And NVIDIA doesn't make their own chips. They go to Taiwan Semiconductor. Tesla doesn't make their own chips. They go to Taiwan Semiconductor. AMD, the only ones basically these days. There's 10 major companies that have their own factories, Bryce, including Intel and some others. But the vast majority of chips that are used on this planet, from Apple chips to Avago chips, Broadcom chips, they come from Taiwan Semiconductor. And I don't think that as quickly as AI is going to accelerate drug discovery itself, those companies will need to build factories, or they're going to need to partner with someone who's got factories that they can quickly turn on and get it distributed, which I think is what the model will end up being for a lot of them. But Pfizer itself also has 109 drugs in, or what is it, 115 drugs in the pipeline of some various stage. And they've got, the ability to acquire and buy the other ones that come up with great stuff, and then again run it through their factories and distribution.
The combination is molecular robotics. It's robots that you ingest. So you take a pill, and that one little pill has 1 million robots in it because they're so tiny, and they're made of DNA, and they're going and finding where they need to find in the body and so forth. And this is real. It sounds crazy, but that's the intersection.
It's so much of what we're living through feels crazy. Yeah. I mean, it is amazing. As revolutionary as the internet was, as revolutionary as the smartphone has been and continues to be, and both of those, as revolutionary as electricity has been, all of this stuff, it gets us to this point in time where we are right now, where we're standing on the shoulders of giants. Things that continue to accelerate at a mind-blowing pace. Technologies are advancing in every industry. Everything's being applied in new services and new technologies, and then building upon itself. And the fact that, AI can create better AI is happening.
Yeah, so for that, there's the synthetic data thing, and we're starting to hear more about technologies or whatever that are going and making the data that's needed to keep feeding these things. Because that was
John, walk us through what synthetic data is.
I don't know enough.
Come on, man.
Well, I don't know enough. I just can say that it is stuff that kind of knows enough about the patterns of the data that's there that it can go and, okay, I've read all this stuff. Now I'm going to make some new things that are still valid sentences that say factual things that it didn't find anywhere. But it was enough for it to go make more stuff, or said in a different way, or whatever, for it to feed back through. Because the way these things, the LLMs, are insatiable for having more kind of data on the way in, and this is what can give them now more data.
But that's sort of what we've seen in football, okay, like tennis, etc. 10, 20 years ago, the amount of data that we had about every football game was mind-boggling. It was so much. And you fast forward to today, and now they have sensors on every part of the uniform. They have simulated AI making camera angles everywhere that you might want to see something. And so the amount of data that one play in an NFL football game generates for Amazon Web Services to track today is what you had in an entire season 25 years ago.
So what is that like? If I have all that data with all those sensors, am I getting the point where it's telling it everything it needs it to know to do the NVIDIA kind of thing of having that virtual world of the football game? Like the physics apply. They know what happens when this bumps into this and all that kind of thing. Because right? This is how they're making robots, by making them inside of cartoon worlds and that have physics, that have gravity and things bumping into things and whatever. And they can make it there and then have it learn there. And then when they make the physical one, it's capable of behaving in the world.
Absolutely. I mean, that is part that's the goal. That's the end game. So
that's Tesla self-driving too.
Yes.
All the videos you got, if you have 100 million hours of driving data,
you would think it'd be a little bit redundant at some point at least the driving part, but those end cases, the tail,
The long tail
stuff.
Yeah, the long tail.
Yeah. And Elon has said it was specifically with the driving right now, getting the next generation of FSD ready to go. The hard part is the lack of interventions from the driver. So they're trying to figure out those edge cases, find them, and then retrain, the next model on it, and then find out if the new model is actually better at handling that edge case than the last model was.
The lack of you're trying to get rid of the interventions, or the fact that since they don't have
the lack. So FSD has gotten so good. There's not many interventions now. There's not as
the
many,
interventions were teaching something about what ought to happen, and it's like you didn't intervene. Well, then you should know you did fine, because otherwise there would have been a crash. So yeah. I was Bryce and I spoke a little about this, I think, one time when you weren't here, Cody, and I know you it's your car that he was driving or something, but I finally tried it for real, went and point to point, and it's amazing. It's the future.
I just got 12.4 versus 12.3 this maybe a week ago, and it's better. It's amazing. I don't know why it's better. I can't really.
Feels like a human.
It just
like
it's better. It was almost there already, but now it's just better again. And maybe it's some of the use, the long tail cases that it knows how to handle or something now. But it rarely scares me. This day and age, especially on the latest version, it is a so much better driver than I am. It's not even funny.
It's a little freaky when it does it right on red when I wasn't going to or something. And it's like, oh, that was valid. But you just, because it's like a little aggressive, but it's right,
Yeah. Well, and you can change the setting, which is also cool. You can be, passive, average, or not aggressive. What is it, Bryce? Assertive.
Yeah.
And Bryce is all assertive all the time. And ironically, that's how I like to drive. But the way I figure I drive is sort of like a go-kart. Like I'm a New York City cab driver on a go-kart track. That's basically the rules I follow.
Yeah.
But when I'm letting Tesla drive, it feels peaceful to sort of put it in just the average mode and let it handle things on an average basis, not a certain.
I just need that one extra setting, which is road rage.
Only in the Cybertruck, because it's bulletproof.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So speaking of Tesla and options and so forth, I've seen a thing about Musk saying, hey, to Bill Gates, hey, quit shorting Tesla because it's just going to get you in trouble.
This has gone on for many years. The Elon, it talks about in the book, Walter Isaacson's book, that Elon back in 1999 wanted to use Windows for the PayPal operating system and not Unix or Linux or any of the others, because he was a fan of Bill Gates and he thought it would really work. But he was outright a fan of Bill Gates. And somewhere along the way, maybe 4 years ago, Elon found out that Bill Gates's investment trust thing has been short like hundreds of millions of dollars worth or $1 billion worth of Tesla stock for a long time. And he called
doesn't that like bring it down just from like others see that it's that much on the short side? So it makes the actual
not necessarily price. Actually, John, as a believer in a stock, if I see a huge short interest, I love it because I know all those people who are short.
Yeah, but you're what do you call it? A contrarian.
But because literally they have to buy the stock at some point. That is if 30% of the stock is sold short, unless that stock's going to zero, at some point there is 30% of the shares outstanding that have to be purchased again. And so it's a real bullish thing if you believe in the fundamental analysis of the stock.
It sets a floor.
Not necessarily, but again, there could be more fireworks on the upside because of that. And so that someday Bill Gates has to buy $1 billion of Tesla stock to cover that short, because Tesla's probably going to $30 trillion market cap, and Bill Gates doesn't want to lose his net worth being short Elon. Anything I missed on that, Bryce?
No.
It's funny.
And Bill and Elon's tweeted to Bill about it. they were supposed to get together like 3 or 4 years ago for some meeting, and Elon was like, yes, as long as you cover your Tesla short, you prick. And
Elon's point is just like, why do you stand to make $1 billion if I go bankrupt? You have 250 billion already. Like, what is the point?
and that's the other point. He was like, and you say you're all like worried about the climate and shit. Well, we are the most climate friendly company on the planet, and if you actually cared, you would buy our stock, not short it.
It sounds political. They have differences, and he's like, but actually, do you think Gates has anything to do with his investment?
Yeah.
You think he's involved?
Yeah. I don't think he sits there looking at it all day or runs it like a fund or something. But
day trading.
If they're betting $1 billion, if the bets get to be in the hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, they're probably asking Bill, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
And he could certainly call after he got reamed by Elon. He could have called his investment guy and been like, hey, cover the Tesla stock, and next time it's down 50%, buy $1 billion of it.
Yeah.
I want to be a Bill Gates fan, but I have a hard time these days.
I've never kind of come around on that. Just but that's, I mean, I can't stand Windows for forever. I'm like, why is that still here? It's such a
Bryce, who does that sound like, Bryce?
Cody, same way.
Oh, my simulator runs on a Windows machine. Oh, I just freaking hate it. Oh, it makes me angry.
Why? That's what it does. It literally makes me angry. I don't.
Oh.
I'm like, they must hate people.
They do.
Yeah. Even getting this new computer, you get it. You have to download a bunch of shit. Like,
and
the
it's like,
Outlook is not automatically synced up. I got to go rig up my email and stuff.
No,
again.
I was on one. It treats my whole machine like it's an ad. Like I need to go consume ads for everything I click into. Like, really?
So I use Apple 99% of for everything, but our prime broker doesn't have Apple, so I have a freaking Windows Surface for my trading, and even this little magnetic thing that comes in and out, that's not Windows, but it's a Microsoft product.
Yeah.
And every time the cleaning lady cleans my desk, I come in on Monday and my computer's dead, and I have to wait 5 minutes for it to get booted up enough juice from this magnetic core. And then the Apple works. The Apple works every time. I turn it on, it works. Today, my internet went down because my dog unplugged the router. And it took me 2 hours to figure that out. I had to get on the phone with the people and like, what kind of lights are on the router? And I was like, there are no lights on. I'm like, is it plugged in on the back? I'm like, I unplugged it from the wall and plugged it back in, but I didn't notice it was unplugged from the back. At any rate, immediately the Apple got back on Windows, had to go through 10 minutes of steps to get back on the stupid Wi-Fi.
Was your dog trying to get on Netflix? Does he know that you can leave them both hooked in?
What happened was he walked by the little area that has the cords.
Was this the puppy?
Yes. I wish I took him home at lunch. Otherwise, I'd hold him up because he's a beautiful golden retriever puppy that everybody would like to look at.
Adorable. You can't just accuse him of anything. It's just
I get in trouble around my house because Jim, his name, Jim can do no wrong. They'll be like, Cody, yell at Jim because he's barking at the other dog. I'm like, no, the other dog started that. That was not Jim's fault at all. They're like, Cody, get Jim off of the coffee table. I'm like, okay, but he didn't know. He just didn't know, guys.
He's going to get spoiled. You got to be careful.
Ask Bryce. Bryce doesn't even really like dogs. He loves Jim.
I do, but I do like dogs. I'm not a dog hater. I don't know why that's.
No, yeah, don't call him out like that.
I know he hates it when I do that, but I do it all the time. So
it's terrible.
All right. Well, look. Last words.
Although we seem to be in a lull with some of the AI stuff, those things that are around music and movies and so forth are still making gains. And then I didn't read it yet, but there was a thing more about the leak of QStar. I know OpenAI is getting a lot of bad press lately, but they'll still make their comeback. I do use Claude Anthropic more now, along with ChatGPT, and it is quite smart. And for the coding end of things, it's better. So the things are, again, they leapfrog each other. There's still a lot happening in the open source front with the stuff, and there's more happening with memory. The stuff that would have been like RAG or retrieval augmented generation of like getting factual stuff that you're incorporating in with your, into your questions. That continues to be really important part to business and everything. That's my last word is a couple paragraphs.
John, they made me come up with a question for my last word, and that is, it seems like the LLMs have been commoditizing. There's more and more of them, and they all seem to do pretty well most of the time. Might be a little nuances and leapfrogging here and there, but is this going to be a winner takes all, or is there going to be 50 LLM companies or somewhere in between?
Handful, I think. But the thing I said before about it was, and it's just, I don't know if I'm right, but I have this opinion that there is leapfrogging, and because of that, it kind of changes hands, whatever. But as the intelligence accelerates, the leapfrogging needs to keep up with it, or else the last one who leaped into that, GPT-5, GPT-6 kind of position will be well enough ahead that it's hard to catch up.
Yeah.
So,
Bryce?
My last word is that I went on record that I'm concerned about Google because Gemini sucks, Bard sucked, and Gemini still sucks. Anthropic used to suck, and now it's good. ChatGPT was always good, and now it's better. Google is still in Bard mode somehow. And then today they announced, or over the weekend, it's rumored that they're buying a cybersecurity company and it's $23 billion. And I'm just a little bit like, I don't know what's happening.
It's like they're distracted, and
that's literally Bryce's words this morning.
Right.
He's like, that seems like a distraction. They need to be doing AI, trying to make sure they're winning. I push back. I wonder if I don't know much about the company. I think it's called Wiz, but I wonder if it's a AI cloud cyber security.
Even if
it is cloud cybersecurity.
Yeah, but even if do they know how to kind of bring the pieces together on this stuff? And I don't like the "I told you so" stuff, guys. But I know back when they were first, coming out with talking about Gemini and everything, I said it's not just about the technology and they're the source of where the transformer came from in the first place. They just have this history of not knowing how to productize, not knowing how to bring it to market successfully.
Meanwhile, they're a $1.82 trillion company, the fifth most profitable company in the history of the planet, and you're saying they don't know how to productize?
Yeah, so you can look backwards or you can look forwards. So remember, I think that you need to be able to...
Not only that, John, but you don't hate saying "I told you so." That is a feature in our relationship, my friend.
Yeah, I think you really need to be able to think about what can be, unburdened by what has been. Doesn't get the reference. Okay, so
what was the reference?
It's something Kamala has said 100 times.
Oh.
There's a whole montage.
Bryce, did you get that reference?
I didn't know where it came from, but I see those memes all the time, and I think they're funny anyway. So
it's funny.
And now that,
sorry.
Yeah.
John, no, I'm leaving you with those last words. You quoted Kamala Harris. That's the way we're going out. Thanks, everybody.
All
Goodbye.
right.
We'll see you soon.
See ya. Bye.